Well, I have a little confession to make, and it's that lately I have become obsessed with power. Not like I have any power. Sometimes you come up and say, could you tell Father David this? And I say, I have no influence over the pastor. You have more influence than I do. Nor is there any chance that I will become powerful. Not even in my own house, living with 3 women, not a chance. But my recent obsession with power stems from the readings we've been listening to these last 4 Sundays. And it also comes from watching the footage of the violent takeover of the Capitol once again during the past week. Boy, it was painful for me to watch some of those horrific images from January 6th. It was disturbing to see a police officer crushed between doors screaming. It was disturbing to find out how close the mob came to attacking Mike Pence. It was really unnerving to watch how they were going after women in Congress, calling them by name. This kind of dark power always uses powerful platforms like TV and radio and politics to control and dominate. And these dark forces that were unleashed at the Capitol, they always end in people being beaten, and things being stolen, things being torn up, communities torn apart. It always moves towards torture and lynching, this kind of dark power. But these last 4 Sundays, we've been reading the beginning of Mark's Gospel. And Mark has presented us with a beautiful, new, different form of power in the person of Jesus. So just to refresh your memory, here are the 4 scenes we've been looking at in the last couple of weeks. Here's the first one. It's Jesus coming out of the Jordan. He's dripping wet, and the heavens are torn open, and the power of God, the power of heaven pours onto him and into him. Because the power that Jesus brings us is not from this world. It's not the same kind of power that we saw in Capitol Hill. The next scene was of Jesus going into the synagogue in Capernaum and teaching with power, speaking a word of meaning that touched people. And then he exorcised the demon from that man. Remember, he had the power to free this man from what was enslaving him. The next event was of Jesus going into Peter's house and being taken to see his mother-in-law who's laying with a fever in bed. And he touches her hand and frees her from the fever. And then today, we see a leper approaching Jesus. And Jesus shockingly touching this leper. What should have happened is the leprosy should have gone from the man, from the leper, to Jesus. And he would have been infected. But instead, the power of God, the healing, whole-making power of God goes out of Jesus and into this leper. We've been watching God send a new kind of power into our world. It comes through Jesus and in the Spirit. This power liberates. This power heals and makes people whole. It's life-changing. Now, I hope you don't miss this. Do not miss the stunning fact that these stories all show that Jesus shares his power. If you've ever read the Greek myths, the Roman and Greek myths, you know that no ancient god, Greek or Roman, Egyptian or Babylonian, would ever share their power with filthy mortals. But Jesus does. And not only does he share share this power. But he knows that it's happening. Remember when the woman who was bleeding touched his cloak? What did he say? Power went out of me. He can feel the power of the Father going right out of him, through him and out to others. And power shared is a new kind of power. But power shared with lepers, women, sinners, outcasts, the shunned, that's an unheard of kind of power that's now available to us. Oh, and did you notice that when Jesus shows up, he brings power. When he shares his power, it comes with him. You see, because the power that Jesus brings into our world and into our lives is always personal. He comes with it. You see, he touched the hand of Peter's mother-in-law. He touched the leper who hadn't had anybody get near him in years. It's personal power. That's what he brings into our lives. Now here's the real reason why this is new power. The power Jesus brings us changes lives. January 6th reminds us of what this dark power that dominates the world does. But the power Jesus offers us heals. It restores people to full lives. It makes people whole. Can you imagine poor Larry the leper? He now can go home, be with his wife, his kids, his family, go to synagogue, get back to work. This power restores and makes all things new. And here's the good news I really want to share with you this morning. Jesus wants to share this power with you, with this community. He wants you to know about it. Now, most of the time, it will come through the sacraments, through the word, or through each other, through each of us. I hope you've had some taste of this freeing and healing and forgiving and liberating power. And if you haven't, ask the Lord for it right now. Because he wants to give it to us. He wants to be with us, among us, work for us on our behalf. He wants to free you and send you a meaningful word. He wants to touch those parts of you that you may be ashamed of, to restore them and renew them. In fact, he wants to make the whole world and all of creation new. And he asks us to share in this experience. Can I get an amen for that?